For my final project in my databases class, I have created a PostgreSQL database hosted through AWS, and I have used the programming language Python. So I first want to start off just by showing the application I've created using the tkinter GUI. So the first thing that we can look at is viewing a playlist. Hitting the View Playlist button will take you to the playlist page where you can see everything that's in the playlist. Then you can also click buttons to sort that playlist by artist, song, and duration, and you can see that all the same songs are returned, but this time they are just sorted. The next thing that we can look at is searching by an artist. So if we want to see maybe all of the songs that are in our database and in our Jukebox by Leonard Skinner, we can do that, and it'll bring up all the songs by them in this playlist. Next, we can go and search by title, and this is one of the most fun parts of the program is you can actually look for a song. So we'll search for Tuesday's Gone. It'll bring up all the information for Tuesday's Gone, and then we can play that song. It'll open up a Chrome browser that will then go to the song, and we can see here that it did bring up the Tuesday's Gone that is listed here, and you can even see that the link is going to match the same one that it navigated to here. The next thing that we can do with the program is to search by artist and title. If you just want to see the name of a song by a certain artist, you can look for that. So if we want to see, let's go back to our playlist. Let's see, I want to see all the songs by Willow Smith. We can do that. We can go and look. We want to see the song Meet Me at Our Spot, and we want to look for it just by Willow Smith. We don't want to see any results from other artists for that song. We can go here and it'll look for both of those things to be true before returning the song Meet Me at Our Spot by Willow. The next thing that we can do is search by duration. Here I decided to make it so that we could look for songs that were smaller or bigger than a given number. That way, if you wanted to listen to a long song, you could search for maybe songs that are greater than 10 minutes long. And we'll see that we get two songs here, one at 25 minutes and one at 95 minutes. And if we wanted to see only songs even crazy less than a minute, we can even look at -1, and you'll see that we can get one song returned in our playlist at 33 seconds long. The next thing that we can do here is we can look at just the songs that you have put into the Jukebox yourself. So here it's going to ask you to log in the terminal, and my username is CastGene, so I'm going to go ahead and input that, and you can see all of the songs that I have inputted to the database myself and all of the information that goes with them. First, we just have it as the song title that I always have separated by these brackets just so you can see that it's the most important part of the song. And then you can see my username and my full name at the end of that. The next thing that we can do that goes along with the users is to create a user. So if we wanted to make a new user, and for instance we could use a username of my teacher, we can do his name in here, and then that way we can create a user there, and you'll see that this user was added successfully. If we wanted to try and add him again, since he's already a user in the database, it'll tell us that this user already exists, and we know that it's already in there. So then, after creating the user, we're going to go ahead and just refresh this app. We'll go back in here, and we can see the songs for the person that we just added. So we just added Morning. We can type that in and it'll tell us we have no songs to display yet because we haven't yet added any songs for that person. So that's the next thing that we'll do is add a song. So we'll go to the Add a Song page, and we'll go ahead and add a Christmas song just because it's Christmas time. So we want to add Last Christmas by Wham. So we'll put Last Christmas here, Wham. We'll go ahead and put the exclamation point as the last name for this one. We'll enter the song duration of 4 minutes and 38 seconds. And we'll go ahead and put the song link in here. And we'll enter Morning as our username and submit the title, and you'll see that our song was added successfully. If we tried to add this same song to the Jukebox, it would know that it was already there, and it's going to tell us that the input's invalid because that already exists within our database. Now, if we wanted to go through and for some reason we decided that we no longer want that song in our Jukebox, we can go ahead and do this. we'll just go back to this front page, go to delete a song, and we want to get rid of the song Last Christmas, and we can see that that song is now successfully deleted from the playlist. And if we want to check, we can go over to our playlist and we'll see that Last Christmas by Wham is not one of the options in our playlist. So there is adding, deleting a song, creating a user, seeing just the songs by a user, and so on. We can even check for another song artist. We can see that B. Golsky has only entered one song here, and we can also see that B. Golsky is Brad, so we can kind of just see all the information that we need with the user and what they put in. So yeah, that is basically what the application does. So the next thing that I wanted to do in showing my final project was to actually look at the code and the database setup itself. So this is how I created my database in AWS, was through the RDS dashboard. And here you can see this is my database is final. You can see all the information about the database here. You can see the endpoint that's used in the program that we'll show later in the video. We can see the security group that I created that made it so anybody can access the Jukebox to make it more collaborative. And so yeah, that is my setup there. And then I also just wanted to show the repo that I have that sort of has a README that tells you how to use it and kind of lets you know about some issues with Python and tkinter if you're using older versions. So moving on to DataGrip next, I wanted to show you this. This application makes it super simple to interact with the database and kind of understand everything that's going on to make sure you're not making any mistakes, and it also does really well at showing you immediately updates that are made. So here we can see my main songs table. This table is going to just show you all of the songs and all of their information. Then we have our users table that allows you to log into the application, and this stores the information for the user. If we go back to the songs table, we can go into we can dive deeper into what makes that up. We have our primary key of the song title. So right now it's only letting you have one title. It's only letting you have a certain song one time. And then we have our indexes set up and our foreign key, which is the important part that connects that the username and the user ID are the same across those two tables. And so this also makes it so that if you tried to get rid of a user and they had songs in the database, still it wouldn't let you get rid of that. So you actually will have to delete all of the songs by a user in the database before trying to delete that user. And then with our users, we can kind of see that I have this primary key for the user ID, which keeps it so that we can't have anybody with the same username. And then we have an index set up with that as well. So moving over to the code for the project, you can see that we have used multiple different third-party libraries. Mostly we are using here is tkinter and this one. Starting with that one, this is using this is what is the Python driver for PostgreSQL. So this is what lets us connect to the database and make our queries. And tkinter was what was used to create the GUI itself. So we can see that the first window we used is created here, and all of the other windows have this same setup for the most part. Some windows have a slightly bigger setup because they have more to display, so it makes it initially start off bigger than the original window, but they all can be resized as wanted and everything will work with that. So then the next thing to look at that I thought was interesting to note would be the OS. So one of the big parts of the program was opening the song and navigating to YouTube, and I realized that if somebody wasn't using Mac OS like I am, that functionality would then not work. So what I added here for playing the song was to check the OS that is being used currently when running the application. So it's going to check for the platform, and that will return Darwin for Mac OS, Windows for Windows, and Linux for Linux. So I have it checking for those three major operating systems, and then based off of that it finds the path of the Chrome executable, and that is then how it is going to open up Chrome on your computer and find the song. So we can see that it'll find the song here by just checking that and opening from there. So then we'll just go into looking at all of our queries that we execute. We'll start up at the first one. So our first query here is the filtering that we saw on the playlist page. All three of these are very similar in filtering because they do something very similar, just on different attributes of the table. So we can see here that this one is looking at last name first, and it is ordering them by last name by artist. Song is going to select the same information and order them by song title. And here we're seeing ordered by song duration. I have duration in descending order because I thought it was better to see the longer songs first, whereas in the other ones I have them in ascending order for alphabetical order. So those are those first three queries. The next one that we can go to is creating a new song. So when you go to the Add a Song page, this is the query that is executed. You can see here that it's inserting the new song, and it's using this parameterization, which is grabbing the input from the text boxes, and you'll see this reused in a lot of queries, and then it's using these parameters that it's passing here, which also makes it easier to resist SQL injection. And we can see here that it's going to check that the song is added successfully, and if it isn't added successfully, it's going to let you know that the input that you provided was invalid, or possibly the username that you were entering doesn't exist. Moving on to the next one, we can see that here we are going to look to delete a song. So it's going to search for the song title, and it's going to delete everything in that row that is associated with that song title. Here we have that parameterization again, and then it's going to let you know that it deleted that song successfully. Next, we're going to look at creating a user. Here we're just inserting the values inputted again into the user table, and it's going to let you know if that user was added successfully, and if it wasn't, it's going to let you know that that user already exists. Next, we're looking at duration. This one was one of the more difficult queries to create. So here I'm doing this Boolean comparison and kind of looking at a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. And you can see that we're selecting the songs that are greater than or equal to the number provided or less than or equal to the number provided. And that's how I was able to see songs that were greater than 10 minutes or less than 1. So it originally gets the number that you input, and for less than, it's going to get that as negative. So we want to check if it's negative here, and if it is, to do less than, but we also want that number, so we take the absolute value of that number here for the actual value that we're comparing to. And then our next query that we're going to look at is retrieving the artist. So here you can see that it's searching by the artist first and last name and looking to match that. Next, we're going to search by title here, and you can see that it's grabbing that title and it's grabbing the link. Here, I had to actually take the link and work with the link a little bit to create it into the URL, because the way that it grabs the link at first is not returned in the right way to actually navigate to that link in the future. So here we're just creating the URL so that it can be used in the play song that I showed you earlier. And then this is searching for the title and artist. And finally, this was our playlist window. That's just selecting all of the information from the songs table. And then last we have the My Songs window, which joins the songs table and the users table and shows you all of the information on the user and what songs they put into the database. So we can see that there. Something that I think was interesting that took me a while to figure out was this command lambda and the function that goes along with it. This happens in pretty much all of my song windows. So here you can see that what it's doing is using that button, and that's how when the button is pressed, it's going to grab all the information, and then it navigates to the new function outside that then does the querying and passes that information back to the window in the main function. That way it can safely grab all of the values and get everything more accurately into the program. And so yeah, that is basically what my program does.